I'm trying to remind myself. I need this reminder. Uh, I'm I'm struggling very much with life. I'm struggling very much with spirituality. I'm struggling very much with. I drink a lot, smoke a lot, and but for the last couple few years, well, I've been drinking pretty much every day, pretty much. Before that, for about 2 years, I didn't drink a drop except for at my brother's wedding. And I was more miserable then. My body was in horrible shape because of everything here and here. So I think that's what they call a dry drunk, right? But it's not. The torment isn't just the drinking. It's this. But I also want to stop drinking. I mean, it's not sustainable. I'd like I'd like to live for a bit longer so that I can do a bit more. A bit more. What's a bit more? Some may some might say I have a delusion of grandeur. And you'd be kind if you said I only had one. But what about inspirations of grandeur? And I guess I'm a fitting commentator on Saint Thomas, pa- patron saint of lost causes and second chances. And quite selfishly, or rather from my perspective, it would make sense that I identify with the idea of second chances. And I've said it before, but lost causes. Lost causes aren't always just a cause that is lost, forget it. But it's lost to be found. Am I a lost cause? Yes. I'm a lost cause trying to become a found cause. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to make this video, I didn't want to make it very long. Though I should remind myself one more time of the difference between a delusion of grandeur and an inspiration of grandeur. I have both. So I have to cut that line fine. But so long as I'm here and failing miserably, I'm going to keep pursuing the good fight. There's something to be gained. There's something to be won for us, for everyone. It must happen. Okay. the I mean, the war of peace is happening in here. And I basically, inside of me, I basically have like a SWAT team or a guerrilla team or a special. I basically have a special forces team of like a few people versus an army. That's what's happening inside of me. So when I speak of the war of peace in the world, that must be won. And that's usually what I'm talking about. But you know, as without, so within, as within, so without. There's a big war inside of me being waged. And people always say, and it's just something I'm wondering about, you know? And I've actually, I put a lot of stock in it. Maybe a little too much. Yeah, too much. Or not too much, but I've just not focused on certain parts of the within, or I've focused on them and there's no resolution, so I obsess over them. Meanwhile, other parts of the within are left scattered, waiting to be picked up. Because they say, what is it, like effort to be the change you wish to see in the world, or be the change you wish to see in the world. Think globally, act locally. As within, so without. As above, so below. But is there a person who's just essentially, sometimes I think of people as like a prime number. Like every person is either a number, or like every person is a prime number. I think of that a lot as an analogy, or an equation, a specific equation. Everybody's a specific exponent in the complex plane, kind of. Or the. Actually, that is actually the way I think about souls, as basically I think of souls as what would it be, like fractional exponents of the unit of the complex unit circle? Like there's the complex unit circle, and so like complex 1 to the 1 over n. It's kind of how I think of souls. But what if there were a certain type of person or a certain type of equation, a certain type of person whose equation was, I can't fix me without fixing something in the outside world. I can't fix me without helping the whole. I can't fix me without not just helping one person or two people, or like making a difference for real that affects the feedback loop between people and eternity. That's a pretty big goal. Alright, I wasn't going to go on this tangent, but might as well mention it. I got to become better at saying these things. And only because it's lacking. Because people talk about God a lot, or the lack of God a lot. I'm obviously on the God side. Though I recognize the limitations of that word, I recognize my own limitations. That's what I inherited. That's what I have. That's what I have to work with. The highest principle, as it is known to me, is God. I will never, ever, 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 ever be able to erase that. Ever. So, that's part of my number. That's part of my identity as my soul's substantiation. Or, well, man, it's hard to deal with words because you talk about substance, but substance means under the standing, and this is the standing, and what's under that would be the substance. That's insubstantial. It's hard to talk. But yeah, God needs our help. Eternity needs our help. The Big Bang needs our help. We have free will. And that's why God, this is one of the biggest things that has to be understood, overstood, is that because of free will, God cannot be a quote unquote perfect God. God is perfect in harmonies. God is not perfect beyond our free will. Omniscience is different than omnipotence. Our free will especially our collective free will, is the limitation on God's omnipotence. God is the pan-potent, or God is the I don't know what the right word would be, but God would be the pinnacle of potency, but not omnipotent, but could be omniscient, meaning knowing all that is possible to know. And people ask why there's evil in the world. The evil in the world is the accumulation of our free will. Let's say God's will is 51% and our collective is 49%. That's it. Also, if you're God, you have to consider the butterfly effect. Not only consider, you live it. Never mind, God's dealing with eternity. And I'm not sure if you've ever been there, but you might not want to go. You might find it's not all peaches and cream in eternity. Anyway, what I was trying to get to is because of the magnitude of just existence, even if I didn't want to do anything, just living. For a lot of people, it's like, ugh, another day, ugh. And I get like that a lot. But I also get like, whoa, a lot. And I also get like, ah, whoa, a lot, you know? And I guess all of that's okay. It's okay. It's not optimal, but it's okay. But as far as like inspirations of grandeur, formerly known as delusions of grandeur, as far as inspirations of grandeur go, there's a problem to be solved. We have to solve it. Everybody. Or anybody. Which means there's a problem that's hard to give words to. That is in the it's in the process of the struggle of the age. The struggle of the age is to be resolved. We want it to be resolved well and benevolently. If it's not, we've lost. And to just be a regular person and say, I'm going to commit my life to resolving this struggle with as much, despite my darkness, despite my insensitivity, despite my delusions, despite my craziness, despite where I have my facts wrong, despite all of these things, I want to dedicate my life. The only thing that I know of myself, my life, my body, my movement, my days, even though I know there's more to me and I've experienced pieces of it, and I don't know how much more of me there is. But this is the me I know, and this is the me I have to give, right? And I want to give all of it. A lot of times I give this me to going down to the grocery store and buying my supper. I think a lot about supper. I like my supper. I think about it usually starting about 8 o'clock in the morning. I haven't made it yet, so it's on my mind right effing now. And it has a life of its own. Some days I come by it well, some days I don't. But for the part of me that I have control over, despite the fact that I want entertainment and information and yada yada yada, the background is always how it's always saying, how am I going to win? How am I going to win? I don't even know what winning would look like. Because my idea of winning despite my smallness and my decrepitness, or whatever level of decrepitness I have, right? Despite that, like, my idea of winning it's the most happy ending, Pollyanna, fairy tale, like beautiful, wonderful thing. And honestly, I can't see myself there because I'm so sad. I'm so angry. I'm so hurt. It's just the truth. By like life, my own experiences, the things I've done, the things that have been done to me, the world we live in. And yet to still remain like optimistic and hopeful and like, even if not dedicating every moment, but like the want, the desire, that dedication, like, and how much even the narrow-minded obsession of that dedication, like, if I can live longer, I can contribute more. But if I worry too much about living longer, I spend all my time on that. So if I have to spend 80% of my time to live 2% longer, then maybe I should spend 80% of my time on meaning, live 20% longer, and produce 200 times more meaning. But what's meaning? Or should I just meditate for 40 years, find clarity, and present it? And these are all real questions, and they matter. Very important. Very important questions. But yet we have to do something. Anyway, this was going to be a really short video. It's 20 minutes. I spend too much time. This was the whole point of the video. Looking at the things that, well, I still can't get to it. I was just scribbling down a few notes there about constructing a 1 degree angle in math. I can get to a 3-degree angle, right? That's as far as I've been able to progress. I can separate the circle into 60, at least rationally, 60 equal pieces. My understanding is that the argument that an angle cannot be trisected, my understanding is that some or a large part of that proof is based on the impossibility of trisecting a 20-degree angle. That might be wrong, or maybe trisecting a 60-degree angle into 20 degrees. I can't recall. But anyway, I guess I should look into this more before talking about it, because I could have it totally wrong. But I also don't understand all the math. When I look at like math proofs, I'm like, I understand like multiplication, division, square roots, a little bit of geometry. But anyway, if you can rationally construct 1 degree using a ruler or a straight edge and compass without a ruler, even though in some ways that's kind of like a false argument a little bit. I guess I'll have to understand it more, but like, as soon as you make two circles, you kind of have a ruler, because you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, and you have square root of 3. Yeah, like thinking about stuff like that, and when I'm thinking about that, it's because, like I said, I can get 3 degrees. I can get 3 degrees now. I have my amplituhedroplex over there. I've made videos about it. If you're interested, I couldn't imagine who would be, but if you're interested, I made amplituhedrics videos about that already. But anyway, that object is tied up very much with 11 and 22, 44. And I don't yet know if it's a rational object. But making it the way I did, once I get that first hemisphere, I got a video about it somewhere. It just fit so perfect. It just felt right, you know. But I haven't proven that it's an actual, real, rational shape. But if I could, and it would be very complicated for me to make this, all these crazy tetrahedrons that make a real sphere separated into 11, and then to actually get the right angles all rational and stuff, that would, for me, be an immense amount of work. But if I could do it, and it's real, I could use that information. That would be the information I needed to go from 3 degrees to 1 degree. It would be some hodgepodging and some, you know, and it would take a long time for me to boil however I figured out that process. I mean, I'm imagining it would be like, I don't even know what, 40, for me, like 40 pages of scribbling of geometry, probably. At least, I mean, I don't know. But then to boil that down into something presentable. Anyway, when just looking at this little page earlier today, this was the whole point of the video. Looking at that little page earlier today, I went, oh, that's so much work. I do that all the time. I must have done that 100 times today about everything. It's really sad. For some reason, I'm a little more smiley. Sometimes I'm a little smiley when I talk to myself. But I can even when I'm smiling, I'm like, I look like a sad dog, right? I do. I know I do. You know? No one don't help. Other times when I think I'm onto something and it's like I can actually do this, then I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that, and you know, I go full blown fucking crazy right off. And it's nice to get excited, it's nice to get pumped, but I fly immediately. I fly past excited and pumped right to full blown crazy, and that's no good either. It seems as though maybe for me in this time in my life, the right response would be, well, maybe there's something there. I'll pick away at it. Maybe that's a better way of thinking about it. Obviously, it is. I had to remind myself of that. It might have been nicer if I'd done it a little quicker. 1 degree. It seems like such a weird thing to say to most people. Most people be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But if you could rationally construct 1 degree, I mean, so far as I can tell, with a compass and straight edge, so far as I can tell, I might have it wrong. This might just be me exposing how much I don't know, which is fine too, because I don't know. Most things I don't know. To my understanding, if you can construct 1 degree rationally using a straight edge and compass, you basically break math. And you basically, therefore, break science. The erroneous parts of it, or part of the erroneous parts of it. And it's not that we're attacking math or science, but we're attacking error. I want to purge the error from this thing, this thing, this thing. And I want to purge the error when I open my door in the morning. I want the world to be different. And in this war of peace, even from this small perch, I'm looking for the kill shot. And if enough of us who don't have anything better to do that, someone's gonna get it. I don't want to learn how to be happy in an unhappy world. A lot of wise people would say that's very immature. So far as I can tell, I tried. I tried like heck being happy in an unhappy world. And I still pursue happiness and pleasure that I shouldn't. My excuse is that I feel like it keeps me alive and it keeps the craziness at bay. Hope is sometimes derided by people. Because you can hope all day long, right? I should do this, I should do that, I'll shit all over myself. I hope this, I hope that. Same type of deal. Today it did set in a little bit that true hope, in the midst of a disaster. True hope in the midst of a disaster is still better than despair and hopelessness in the midst of a disaster. So far as the gift of hope goes. To begin to imagine like a better way. To begin to imagine a better way and sustain that vision. Not like a vision, but an idea does seem very powerful, or has the potential for power if it's sustained. And sustenance is my problem. Holding on. I don't know, I guess I kind of trailed off on that one. Bye now.